The McDonald's cashier, Jake, had no idea that his life was about to change forever. It had been an ordinary shift at the fast food restaurant, with the usual rush of customers coming and going. But one day, something unusual happened, something that would stay with him forever. Several weeks ago, Jake had been working late when a tall, well-mannered teenager walked up to the counter. He wore a hoodie, jeans, and a baseball cap, blending in like any other customer. He placed a simple order, a burger, fries, and a drink, but when he reached into his pocket, he hesitated. His face fell slightly as he realized he had left his wallet at home. Jake noticed the look of disappointment on the young man's face. It wasn't unusual for someone to come up short on cash, and most customers would simply cancel their order. But something about this teenager made Jake pause. There was a politeness in his demeanor, a quiet respectfulness that struck him. Without hesitation, Jake smiled and said, "Don't worry about it. It's on me." The teenager looked up in surprise. "Are you sure?" he asked. "Yeah, man, it's just a meal," Jake replied casually. "Enjoy." The young man hesitated, clearly touched by the gesture. He smiled, nodded, and said, "Thank you. I really appreciate it." He took his food and walked out, blending back into the crowd outside. What Jake didn't know at the time was that the teenager he had just helped was Barron Trump, the son of the former First Lady, Melania Trump. Days passed, and Jake had all but forgotten about the moment. That is, until one evening, something completely unexpected happened. As Jake was finishing up another busy shift, a sleek black SUV pulled up in front of the McDonald's. He barely noticed it at first. Celebrities and high-profile figures occasionally passed through the area. But when the back door opened, everything changed. Melania Trump stepped out. The restaurant fell into a stunned silence. Customers whispered among themselves. Employees looked at each other in disbelief. And Jake felt his heart pound in his chest. Melania, poised and graceful, walked directly toward the counter, toward him. Jake swallowed hard, glancing around, unsure if she was really looking for him. But as she reached the counter, she smiled warmly and said, "You must be Jake." Jake nodded, struggling to find words. "Yes, ma'am," he finally managed. She extended her hand. "I wanted to personally thank you for what you did for my son, Barron." Jake's eyes widened. His mind raced back to that simple act of kindness. The free meal, the polite teenager. He had no idea who he had helped that day. "It was nothing, really," he said, still in shock. Melania shook her head. "To you, maybe. But to a mother, knowing that there are people like you in the world, people who show kindness without expecting anything in return, that means everything." Jake felt a lump in his throat. The former First Lady was standing in front of him, thanking him for something he had done without a second thought. But that wasn't all. Melania then turned toward the restaurant's manager and handed him an envelope. "This is for Jake," she said. "Consider it a small token of our appreciation." Jake hesitated before opening it. Inside was a handwritten letter from Barron Trump himself, thanking Jake for his kindness and generosity. But what truly shocked him was what was tucked inside: a check for $10,000. Jake's hands shook as he looked up in disbelief. I can't accept this," he stammered. Melania smiled. "Yes, you can. And you should. Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness lead to the greatest rewards." Tears welled in Jake's eyes as the entire restaurant erupted into applause. Customers, employees, and even people passing by outside watched in awe as one simple act of kindness came full circle in a way no one could have predicted. From that day forward, Jake's life changed. The story of his generosity went viral, inspiring millions. He continued working at McDonald's, but now with a newfound sense of purpose, determined to pay it forward, just like he had unknowingly done for Barron Trump that night. And as for Melania and Barron, they reminded the world that no act of kindness, no matter how small, ever goes unnoticed. Sometimes the simplest gestures create the most unforgettable moments.